going to cut you off, but not until you had your full 5 minutes.
And I appreciate my placing on the committee for
Yeah,
today.
and Ms. Bondi is coming. She was scheduled, and then we had this 43-day, month-and-a-half shutdown by the Democrats, so she wasn't able to be here. So we'll.
And then the speaker furloughed us for 45 days. I had never been furloughed before, by the way.
We will.
Okay.
We will have her. The gentlelady from Wyoming is recognized.
Classic Democrat ploy, deflect attention from every single thing that he described about affordability being caused by their policies, and then turning around and attempting to blame us for the problems that they created with the housing, the increase in housing costs, the increasing in food costs. We're fixing those things, the policies that they implemented, and I have every expectation that we will see a decline in some of those prices next year. But I actually want to talk about why we're here today, because it is a very important hearing. I have long been a proponent for including sunsets in government programs and authorities, and I believe we commit legislative malpractice in a lot of the things that we do when we don't include sunsets. I hold this principle to be especially true when dealing with technology and technological advances, which always seem to move much faster than government, and we can evolve when we're drafting our bills. FISA is a perfect example of this issue. Since its creation in 1978, the scope of FISA authorities has continually grown, as has its abuses. As the intelligence agencies we oversee push their surveillance abilities beyond these statutory allowances, that issue today is compounded by new technologies and the commercial availability of data. Today, we as legislators face two unique challenges. First, reforming Section 702 to correct past abuses, which for some appears to be a controversial exercise in and of itself, although I don't see that as to why it should be controversial. But second, we also need to update federal laws and protections to account for the pace of technological advancement. And here we are. We're actually talking about and working on reforms with the chance to vote on those reforms in 2026 for the second time in my 2 terms in Congress, which I think is a really good deal. Why? Because Congress was wise enough to sunset these important authorities to aid in our ability to consistently review them. Mr. Chernisky, technological advancement and the private sector always seem to move faster than the government. Does maintaining these 2-year reauthorizations of Section 702 provide a better chance for us to keep up with the pace of those changes and also to address any new violations that we may see?
What happens when the clock is ticking, the gavel is ready, and someone refuses to waste a single second? Today's hearing wasn't just another exchange on Capitol Hill. It was a collision between power and accountability, between politics and principle, and between a system that moves fast and a government that rarely does. She was given 5 minutes, and she used every one of them. Let's break it down. The hearing starts with something familiar: deflection, shutdowns, finger-pointing, blame over affordability, housing, food prices. One side claims the damage was inherited, the other insists it was engineered. But beneath the noise, something more important is happening, because this wasn't really about groceries or gas. It was about power and whether Congress still knows how to limit it. Here's where the tone shifts. A simple idea takes center stage: sunsets, temporary authority, forced accountability, built-in expiration dates for government power. The argument is clear: when laws never expire, oversight dies quietly, and nowhere is that more dangerous than in technology and surveillance. Tech evolves in months, government authority lasts decades. That gap? That's where abuse grows. Which brings us to the elephant in the room. FISA was created in 1978. Its purpose? National security. Its reality today, something far bigger: expanded authorities, growing surveillance, a documented history of abuse. Section 702 sits right at the center of this debate. The question isn't whether intelligence agencies should protect the country. The question is, who's protecting the Constitution while they do it? Shorter reauthorizations mean one thing: Congress has to keep looking, keep asking, keep correcting, and that makes some people very uncomfortable. Then comes the hard truth. The FBI isn't what it used to be. After 9/11, the mission changed from crime fighting to intelligence gathering. According to testimony, that shift created a dangerous overlap: law enforcement acting like intelligence agencies without the same restraints. The call here is bold: return the FBI to its core mission. drug trafficking, violent crime, real interdiction. Because when intelligence tools are pointed inward, abuse isn't a possibility, it's a pattern. As the clock winds down, solutions take...
See any other reforms that we should be making when we revisit this in April of next year? Mr. Tolman, starting with you, have we touched on all of your proposed changes, or do you have additional ideas that you would like us to consider?
With respect to 702, we have addressed them, but with the FBI, I think we have work to do. I think shifting their mission back to interdiction of drug and violent crime should be their central focus and not the gathering of intelligence. And until then, we will see abuses that we have to rein in.
Just very quickly, I don't know if you were aware, but at the beginning of the 118th Congress, when we were doing the Select Committee on Weaponization of the Federal Government, we had a former FBI agent who came and testified, and he talked about how the mission had been shifted after 9/11, and I think you touched on that briefly today as well, and I agree with you. We need to get back to a pre-9/11 mentality with regard to the FBI. I think it's important, and I appreciate your advice in that regard. Mr. Scher.
Thank you for the question. If I could add one thing to the 4 specific reforms that I mentioned earlier, I would add the NGO Fairness Act, which I know that this committee has already passed and reported out, but perhaps that could be attached as part of the 702 reauthorization bill, because it's certainly closely related to the items in that bill. So I would suggest adding that.
Thank you. Mr. Chinarsky?
Yes, I would second Mr. Scher's point of adding in the NGO Fairness Act into that, and everything else, the 4 core ones that we mentioned too.
Thank you. And Ms. Goitein?
If there was one thing I would add to those 4 things, which I agree with, it would be closing the backdoor search loophole for Executive Order 12333 collection.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it. And with that, I yield back.
Gentleman yields back.
This isn't about dismantling security. It's about restoring balance, power with limits, security with consent, oversight with teeth. The most important moment wasn't the questions. It wasn't the answers. It was the reminder that temporary power forces permanent vigilance. Sunsets don't weaken government. They strengthen democracy. Because when authority has an expiration date, freedom has a fighting chance. If this conversation ends, the power doesn't. So it can't end. Stay watching. Stay questioning. And never stop paying attention when the clock starts ticking.